Welcome back to another episode of Maps of Etc. in Houston, but today is actually the special one. We've been reviewing maps of Katy, of Richmond, of all the other surrounding cities around Houston that are part of the greater part of Houston. But today we're actually going to do like Houston proper.
Yeah, today we're going to show you the main roads, attractions, and things that we consider you have to see before moving into Houston, Texas. But first, if this is your first time in our channel and you want to know everything about Houston, Texas, then subscribe below and tap that bell for notifications so you're gonna be the first one to know about the current market here in Houston, Texas.
We get calls every day from people just like you, and whether you're moving in 9 months or 9 days, we want to make your move to Houston as smooth as possible. So all of our contact info is down below. Give us a call, email, or text if you want to learn about what it's like to move here in Houston. But let's get into what Houston itself has to offer.
Let's go.
Okay. All right. So first, I think we need to talk about where Houston is in general. So Houston itself is so close to the water and so close to the Gulf. And I think everybody knows that about that. So Houston itself is pretty big.
It's
and
huge.
I think that one of the first things I want to talk about when it comes to Houston is when I have clients who are like, hey, I want to live in like Houston proper or like Houston itself, they usually are referring to a very specific part of Houston. They're referring to, and let me show you right here, they're referring to this part that we call the inner loop. So the inner loop is what most people think of when they think of Houston. They're like, hey, I want to live in Houston. What they're really trying to say is I want to live inside the inner loop. And the inner loop is this big road right here called 610 that surrounds Houston and kind of goes in circles and circles around Houston so you can get around Houston. So while this is like the Houston downtown and all the extra Houston stuff, all of this is what we would, socially consider as being part of Houston itself too, with some exceptions of actually no really exceptions, but some exceptions that are up here that we'll talk about here in a little bit.
But I always say also that's the people that lives in Greater Houston,
Yep.
right? Because when you live outside Texas or like another city, you say, I want to live in Houston, but you really mean maybe Katy
Yep.
or Richmond
Yep.
or Sugarland.
Yep.
So that's a difference right there. If you're living in the Greater Houston, if you say Houston, that means the inner loop that David showed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you live outside Houston or Texas, you say Houston, but you refer to Greater Houston.
Get areas around Houston.
Yeah.
So like we talked about Katy and Richmond, but it also includes even further away places like the Woodlands or
Yeah.
Galveston too. So people in Galveston and Woodlands would sometimes say, I live in Houston, just to make it easier. So let's talk about the roads in Houston in general, because if you look at the map here, there are so many roads and it's easy to get lost. And because Houston is so road heavy, like you don't walk, you drive everywhere. It's kind of important if you're trying to figure out what part of Houston you want to live in, maybe what roads are around certain parts of Houston to get in and around Houston itself. So let's see what we got here.
Okay, so we're gonna start with 610.
Yep.
610, we know is a famous road, I would say, because it's pretty busy.
Yeah.
Like North Loop and South Loop of 610, all this area inside the 610, we color the inner loop itself. If clients, they say, I want to live in the inner loop, that means they want to live inside this loop of 610.
Sure.
This thing that we call the heart of Houston is this circle over here, is made by the main road that cross over the city. This one, that is I-10, that cross and pass through Houston and goes to Florida and comes from California. And this one, 69 or 59, that cross over here and goes north of the city. And then we have I-45 that goes from north to south over here. And these are like the main roads that cross over the city. And of course, I left 288, but this is an important one. Then we have the other belts. I mentioned 610, but then we have Beltway 8, that is also called Sam Houston Parkway over here. And this one is an important one. This one takes you to the airport, one of the, like the main one. Well, actually both of them. If you live, let's say in Katy or this area over here, you will go to Beltway A, all this road, and then get to the airport that is in this area, right here on north. And then we have Highway 6 that is over here and goes to south to Galveston, almost Freeport. And the outer ring of Houston is Grand Parkway 99 or the 99 that really goes outside the entire city.
Yeah, it's not finished yet, so you won't see all the 99 complete yet, but that's the one that's been working on. They've been working on for like
the longest
time, maybe 10 years, but you see how big it is. It goes all the way around there. So they're pretty close, and I guess technically you can get around. The part that's missing from 99 is the southern part of 99 and the southern west part of 99, but that's coming.
Yeah.
So those are the bigger roads that downtown Houston have to offer, and what we're talking about. When we talk about downtown Houston, like I said, we're talking about 610 Inner Loop. But I want to talk about maybe some more important roads that are inside Houston itself. So because the roads themselves kind of distinguish the different areas and different types of homes and different type of lifestyles, et cetera, that you have out here. So I think when people think of living in downtown, they're thinking of a few different roads. Probably one of the more famous roads out here just to get around is going to be Westheimer and Richmond. So this is Westheimer right here. And then Richmond should be right below it down here. Now these two roads, if I zoom out just a little bit, you're gonna see these two roads don't really go into downtown themselves, but these two roads is where a lot of the commercial developments have been built for our downtown or for a lot of the inner loop type stuff. Now, obviously, if we go down here, we're going to go down to our downtown, and that's going to be something I bring up in a little bit. But I just wanted you to realize that, so that Richmond and Westheimer, Alabama, all of these roads are here. Westheimer right here. Actually, highlighted the Richmond. I highlighted Alabama instead of Richmond down here. So if we look at downtown itself, downtown is set up like your traditional city with grids up and down, left and right, even though it looks kind of diagonal from this perspective. And that's traditional city blocks, all kinds of things there that we're going to go into as far as what it has to offer and why it's a little bit different. But you'll notice just based on what I said before about Westheimer and Richmond, I mean, these are pretty straightforward left to right, but if you look at these, they're not really your grid system. And the reason it's like that when you're talking about downtown or Houston itself is because a lot of these areas are built for skyscrapers and other infrastructures and apartments and things like that and businesses, although there is some residential stuff here. And here, a lot of here has been mixed of commercial and residential. So you'll see a lot of business establishments on these types of roads, but you'll see
apartments.
Little apartments. You'll see pocket neighborhoods and houses and stuff on the outside here, including all of this other stuff. Now, there is one road when it comes to here that we're not talking about, which is this road right here. So this right here is Memorial Drive. Now, Memorial Drive is a beautiful road. If you come to Houston, I definitely suggest just driving down here. You're gonna see that it's actually right next to what we call Buffalo Bayou Park, and it goes into Memorial Park right here. Memorial Park and Buffalo Bayou are two beautiful parks that we have that follow along these roads that people use all the time, but it's really cool, pretty scenic route because Houston is not necessarily the touristy city. If you look at our other videos, we kind of talk about that, but this is actually a really nice and kind of pretty place.
That's the best one we have.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. I definitely recommend it. So let's get into what Houston has to offer as far as living is concerned. So when it comes to living, there's a lot of different neighborhoods. There's a lot of neighborhoods that we describe for different areas and sections of Houston, even though technically it's not part of that neighborhood. But let's just say if we're going to be downtown Houston, downtown proper, there's going to be a lot of high rises and condos out here, but not a lot of townhomes and things like that. There is a little bit, and I would say that the closer you get to Minute Maid Park and Discovery Green, which is these two areas, the more condos and high rises for residential you'll see here. Although lately, any city in America, they've been trying to repurpose old buildings and trying to turn them into lofts and et cetera. So you'll have a lot of that really cool loft and exposed brick type feel apartments and condos to buy. You'll see them in this part of Houston right here. Actually including a little bit over here too that they're doing that. So those are really good places to live if you're looking for a condo that's a high rise that's in downtown itself. However, we have this other area. This is one of the first areas we're going to learn about Houston, is that while this is downtown Houston, that you see what we call East Downtown, but we have a nickname for it, and the nickname is EADO, E-A-D-O, for East Downtown. So this is where we used to have a lot of the residential, a lot of the houses, and we still do, just so you know. But back in the early days of Houston, this is where everybody who lived here would work here. And over time, you know, the people who lived here started working its way out of there into suburbs. So EADO is where they start building townhomes, and it's where you're most likely to find either a single family home or a townhome that's attached to other homes. If you want more of a traditional house type living or close to a traditional house living, that's not a condo itself. So that's EADO, and EADO by itself, you know, the Maid Park where the Astros play is right here. All of this is just beautiful. There's bars, there's cool restaurants, and over here it's all the townhomes. And it's just really, really good place to live. And so that's what we have, the downtown EADO. Now let's get down to some of the bigger parts, and I'll go over this pretty quickly. So we went over this and this. Otherwise, the biggest way to separate downtown Houston for living is that we have River Oaks. And when you think of River Oaks, think of the multi-millionaire type situations there. We have Montrose and Hyde Park. Montrose and Hyde Park is absolutely, you know, it's a little bit higher end price stuff, but it's also houses that have way more character. They're not necessarily corporate entities bought them all and turned them into, you know, all cookie cutter homes. Yeah. There's all the personality and things like that in homes are going to be in this part of Houston here. When you go to Rice Military is essentially what I like to call is your corporate living. So right here is where all the houses have personality. They're kind of, everybody's their own, which is good and bad depending on what you're looking for. Rice Military is a little bit of the opposite, where a lot of these developments came through Rice Military and built townhomes and built, you know, a lot of really beautiful structured buildings for people to live in if they want something that's more consistent, more modern, etc. Then we have up here, which is outside of the 610, but I still consider it 610. I mean, sorry, it is in 610 in the loop, but it's outside of I-10, is the Heights. Now the Heights is a really beautiful place to live. It's the most walkable part. If you want to walk outside your house and just go to a bar or go to a restaurant and do those types of things, the Heights is probably one of the better places to do that in when it comes to Houston and Houston living. So that's the Heights, and we can definitely get into the Heights a little bit more. But down here, you're going to see what's called Hermann Park and the zoo and medical center area. So this is what we consider this part of Houston and proper Houston also. The medical center area is part of Houston where it looks like a downtown. There's a bunch of skyscrapers, there's a bunch of buildings, but it's all medical related type jobs. It's where the latest and greatest of the medical world live, and you know, they do a lot of work there. And next to it's the Hermann Park and Zoo. However, next to it, they have all of this right here is residential area. Yeah. So Rice Village. Rice Village is a beautiful, right next to Rice University. It's just where you have these beautiful traditional homes with the trees that sweep over the roads. That's where you have that. West University place is a continuation of that. It's just a beautiful place to live. Often these homes are in the several millions of dollars or million or around the $1 million plus area. And that kind of gives you kind of the bulk of the luxury living that we have in downtown. But like I said, these are the bigger neighborhoods that I'm talking about. Inside of these are definitely pocket neighborhoods and pocket condos and townhomes that probably are more affordable, and that could be in the 400 or 300 range if you find the right one. But for the most part, these are kind of luxury livings, and you're going to looking to spend a pretty penny to live out there.
So now that we talk about the neighborhoods, the roads, I'm going to mention very quickly like the main attractions that we have in this area of the inner loop in Houston. And one of the things that I like about Houston is the culture. We have something that we call the museum district. It's around this, let me show you here. It's around this area over here. And in this area over here, we have around 19 museums. Yeah. One of the main ones is that actually is showing here. And the other one, that's the Fine Arts Museum. And the other one that I really love is the Natural Science Museum of Houston. That is a must visit place here in Houston. The other place that of course is a big one here is the zoo, and because it's next to Hermann Park. You can go to the zoo if you are into like animals. But you can also visit Hermann Park, and they have like a little train there for the family. There is like this river that you see over here with the boats that you can ride, or bicycle boats that you can ride to. And it's a place that is great to have a family or picnic or walk. The other place that is also a most visit place here in Houston, and sometimes it's confused by people that just moved to Houston. Sometimes I see that they confuse Galleria by like
For
it
downtown.
is for downtown. I have heard that like a lot of time, people saying, I live in Galleria, yeah, I live in the downtown. It's this area over here. You will see high rise. I get the confusion, honestly.
Yeah.
High rise, a lot of shopping, a big mall. There's one.
Skyscrapers.
Yeah.
I think the tallest skyscraper we have in Houston, I think, is in the Galleria. So
yeah.
it's easy to confuse it for a downtown.
But yeah, it's which are the downtown over here. But it's a great place to live because of the shopping, because of the restaurants, bars. It's a great place to visit too.
Yeah, and the Galleria itself is also, by the way, the biggest mall we have. We have so many malls here in Houston. Like every other corner has a mall, but the Galleria itself is the biggest mall. So it has the most stores, the biggest, most walking. I mean, there's an ice rink in there, ice skating rink over there. If you want very high-end luxury products, you're going to find there stuff like there. So that's why the Galleria tends to be a very sought-after place to be at.
Now, let's mention where the main airports are located here in Houston. And we have two main airports. Of course, we have small airports. We have plenty. But the big ones, we have this one over here. That is the George Bush Intercontinental Airport. And then we have this one over here. That is the Hobby Airport. Of course, the main one we would say is George Bush, but Hobby is competing like right after. I remember a few years ago, Hobby Airport was used only for the transportation north side of the United States, but now it's international airport too. Okay, so now that I mentioned about the district museums, you mentioned before Discovery Green. This is a great place to visit. There is a park for the kids, and they do concerts, they do yoga on the lawn that they have over there. They do Saturday where vendors and farmer market goes there and sell and promote their businesses. And there is a cool place to visit here in Houston. And I say the entrance is over here because it's the tunnel system that goes underground the city. And it's amazing because that was built back in 1930. And the main purpose of that tunnel was for the people of Houston cool down from the heat on the streets. And now it's turned into a shopping mall or plaza where you can have and basically have breakfast or lunch. It's a cool place that you must visit. It's around 9 miles.
Nice. 9 miles of walking underground.
Of walking on the ground.
Wow.
And of course, one place that you must visit if you come to Houston is the Buffalo Bayou. This park is around 60 miles of park. And this, well, because I mentioned the tunnels and I see the cistern here, I don't know if you have seen it, and if you come to Houston, you have to visit that too. It's a cistern, and now it's converted into a place where like an art gallery.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's so nice to visit. You must visit it too if you come to Houston.
So those are some of the cool attractions we have out here as far as if you want to get artsy. There is something else that is a big deal here in Houston or in Texas in general, and that's all of our sports that we have. So because we're talking about downtown Houston and really Houston proper, I want to point out where all of our big sports events and our sports teams live and where they work from and etc. So we're going to start a little bit away from down and work our way back in there. So over here we have NRG Stadium. Now NRG Stadium right here is where our Houston Texans football team plays right here. And it's a huge area. It's a really state-of-the-art stadium right here with where the Houston Texans play. But it serves as more than just a stadium for the Texans. So that's also where we have our annual Houston Rodeo, Livestock Show and Rodeo. And that's just a 1-month event where obviously it's rodeo, but we have concerts every single night with major artists. We have barbecue, all the best food, all imagine a state fair on steroids. That's exactly what what the rodeo is for us. And I'm a volunteer, and everybody who volunteers has to dress up. And like, if you want to see like a Texan cowboy type environment, come to that. It's totally worth it. And that's where people live. But anyway, that's where the Texans play. That's where the old Astros used to play too. So that's where the Astro Stadium is, the very first ever covered dome in the United States for sports events. So we're gonna work our way down to this part of downtown. Just outside the proper downtown, over here on this side, is the Shell NRG Stadium. And I think they may have changed their name. I gotta look it up. But this is where our Houston Dynamo play, our Major League Soccer team, and they do a great job. It's a great place. I would say when you go there, there is not a bad ticket. Like, you can buy the up in the nosebleed, and you have a really good view of the stadium. Our men's team and our women's team both play there, and they do a really good job. It's outdoors, out in the open, but it's a fun place to play, and you'll see a lot of our soccer events come here, unless it's a really major one, like if it's an international game like United States or Mexico, you'll see that NRG Stadium. However, right close to it, I mean, we're talking about everything is walkable, walk distance away. Right here is Toyota Center, and the Toyota Center is where our Houston Rockets play. That's our national basketball, our NBA team right there, and that's where the Toyota Center is. Now, that's a really cool place. You're gonna see a lot of concerts. That's where Bad Bunny likes to do his concerts. He likes to do it at Toyota Center, and that's because there's a lot of really cool hotels and stuff living out there. Right next to it, just like a little fun little advert right here, is Root Square. It's just a park that's right next to Toyota Center, and the cool thing about that is that there is a outdoor basketball rink right here, or basketball court, excuse me. And then the basketball court, sometimes you can see some high-end professional players or even some celebrities come out here and just like to play hoops with the public all the time. It's a really cool, good time. So soccer, we have our football, we have our basketball, and last but not least is our Minute Maid Park, which is our pride and joy, where our Houston Astros, our baseball team, plays. Now, the Minute Maid Park is a beautiful. I mean, honestly, there's so many beautiful baseball stadiums and all of America for all of our Major League Baseball teams, but I think the Houston one is really special. It's really beautiful. It's really cool because you can open and close the actual roof itself, so it can be an indoor or outdoor, but it's a lovely place. That's where our Houston Astros plays. And if you notice, real quick, while Houston is not technically that walkable, even though we're starting to make strides to be a walkable city, all of these places are so close to each other that you'll end up walking in this area, and it's a really beautiful place.
And they also have public transportation, so it makes it easy too.
It's really easy to travel through there. There's a lot of public transportation when it comes to downtown. So those are our major sports. The only thing that's missing that hopefully is coming soon, if we get lucky, is our hockey team. We used to have the Houston Aeros a long time ago, probably 10 years ago. I don't even know. It's been a long time. But there are rumors that we're going to have a hockey team back, and that's going to be amazing when that happens. So those are all our major sports teams, and that's some of the attractions that we have and some of the sports things that we have.
But I guess we have a problem.
Yeah. What do you mean? Like Houston, we have a problem?
Houston, we have a problem. What about the NASA?
So we have NASA. So we definitely want to talk about that. So while this is downtown Houston, if you go all the way down through 45 South into Galveston, right before Lake City, right here is where you'll see kind of where our NASA is. And now it's not just like a museum NASA, although there's a really cool museum there. You're going to spend a lot of time there with your family. This is like actual NASA, where when the space station or the rocket launches that happen from Florida, when they're talking to NASA and they're talking to the headquarters, they're actually talking to this part right here. When I first started my real estate career, I sold houses here in League City, and I got to work with a lot of engineers from NASA. And I can tell you, this is a very beautiful part of Houston. While it's not technically part of downtown Houston, it's very much associated with downtown. And if you live in downtown or have ever in the downtown area, it's worth the extra drive to come down here and visit our NASA museum that we have out here. However, that does remind me of one thing. I just have a question for you. So we said a lot about Houston, we talk a lot about cool attractions, and we talk about areas to live, etc. What is one of your favorite things, maybe two of your favorite things about downtown Houston that you've experienced personally?
One is the one that I already mentioned, that is the Houston Natural Science Museum, that I love, and I try to go as often as possible. The other thing that I love about Houston, downtown Houston, is Post. The Post. For me, it's incredible how they transformed that building.
Yep. And
they converted in this place where you can have dinner. There's like a lot of vendors, a lot of cooking, but they also have concerts on top. And then you can see the skyline of Houston at night, it's beautiful in the post.
I think the post is one of my favorite things too. And they do have, just so you know, like it's not like concerts, everything you mentioned. They have really cool like resale shops, that pop-up shops here. Like if you're a sneakerhead or you like vintage clothing, like every weekend or every other weekend, they'll have vendors come out there and it's a really cool place to shop.
They have dance lessons too.
Dance lessons, everything. And the pictures that you take there are amazing. Yeah. If you are Instagram or you just love taking social media pictures, just go there. It's just one of the best. You cannot go wrong when you go there. That's really nice. So I think that's one of my favorites. I have two of my favorite things that if I were to add on top of that. So obviously one of my absolute favorites, because I grew up in music, I did music a lot, but I'm also kind of a dramatic person in general. So it's our museum district and theater district, not museum district, it's our theater district, excuse me, that we have out here. So I think we have a very highly nationally and worldwide respected theater district here in Houston that is recognized for its ballet, because we do have a ballet company, but also all of the good shows that we put out here. There's all of this here is just constant shows for different types of theater, different types of arts, that is performing type arts. So you'll always be entertained out here. And because I think if you saw one of our other videos, I mentioned that Houston is a city of making money. Like we're about making money here. So while it's not a touristy city, it's a money city. But we also have a lot of good taste and we're very artful people. So we spend a lot of money Houston investing in our arts. So the theater district is awesome. You can catch all the Broadway shows when they do the Broadway tours. They'll come out here. It's a great place to just dress up and do that. And when we have our, what it seems like our consistent, Houston Astros championship parade after they win the championship, that also happens right down here too. So when that parade is really cool, you'll kind of see that there. So that's one of my favorite things about inside Houston, downtown Houston. My second favorite thing I'm gonna talk about, it's just so specific. It's a very specific thing. It's actually a bar. It's a family-friendly bar, if that makes any sense, because people bring their kids there all the time and just to hang out. It's not a kind of bar where you just drink to kind of get drunk. It's called Axelrad Beer Garden, and it's a beautiful place. It's an outdoor bar. Everything in there is kind of like a custom beer, like that's made locally, and they have different restaurants that come in and do their food trucks there. It's a really good vibe out here. They have like hammocks. When you sit outside, they play movies against the wall for all the kids. And it's also, there's a really cool place if you want to just have the downtown Houston at a distance while you have fun and relax. It's just a really cool, chill place. And I would say that's one of my favorite parts about being in town. Okay, so obviously when we're talking about proper downtown, there's many elements, and we're gonna have another video where we talk about the pros and cons and where we talk about what it's like to live in Houston, and we'll probably go over the lifestyles and the applicable things when it comes to considering moving to Houston itself. So we're gonna save that for a different video, but we probably fit in as much as we probably could so you have a general idea of what it's like to live out here and what's around us and the practicality of living out here.
But if you live here in Houston and you see that we should have mentioned a place or something specific about our city, please let us know. Comment in our video, and of course we're going to include it in the next one.
Absolutely. So we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye.